There's a certain magic about Dubai Creek, and I've traveled to many places, but I have not found the kind of magic whilst you're crossing a creek, except, of course, when you go to Gorai in Bombay and you cross the Gorai Creek and you have a rubber raft with you and you're a school child, then the magic is amazing. But having said that, there's a certain mystery quality about crossing the Dubai Creek in the evening, late at night. And often my brother would go to the temple, and I've crossed the Dubai Creek very few times, and that has kept the magic alive. The first time I went to Dubai was in 2000, and it was almost the second country that I'd visited. And early morning I got up while the rest of them were sleeping because they'd just flown into Dubai. And I was curious to explore, as I've always been since I was around 5 years old, because that's from when I actually remember stuff. And I walked out of Al Zaruni, which was the apartment where my brother stayed. And I think the street was called Dera Street. And this was Dera. And I walked through, and I kept walking because the best way is to explore a city is by getting lost, or the best way to see a city is on foot. That's my original thing. The best way to find a city is by getting lost. That's what I thought in Nepal when I first went to Kathmandu, but that's not the point. There was a kind Malayali person who showed me. I just asked him, where does this lead? And I just kept on walking. And I walked to maybe what is the Hilton and or Hyatt. And before I walked to the other side, which led to an old market, I went to the side where the seagulls were and the Pakistanis were sipping their tea. And they were dressed up as Pakistanis because they were Pathans, and I'm sure that they were there to work. And they looked like very kind people, but I could not say. It was like a cowboy movie when you're entering a saloon and you don't know whether somebody is a friend or foe. Yes, the seagulls are very beautiful. And in the afternoon when the creek is blue, the key seagulls look like something out of a Tintin comic, maybe Broken Ear or Crab with the Golden Claws. One of the comics where he took the boat ride, or rather the ship voyage, extensively. And then, of course, the creek itself, even today it has the 50 baisse, or it must have changed since 2000, ride, which baisse is what is originally Indian currency, because Dubai used to trade extensively with India at one stage when they were poor. And they still call it Paisa, or Paisa, which is the Indian currency for cents. But it's magical in the afternoon. And the breeze blows from the sea. And you can imagine all the Vikings and all the crusaders and all the knights and all the princesses and all the thieves, all the buccaneers who have passed through this creek, through history. There's a sense of history, make no mistakes. And on the other side is a temple. Of course, there's a gold souk, which is the oldest gold souk, but it's reduced to a tourist attraction now. And if you had to buy gold today, you would go to Sharjah, and you would go from Sharjah main square into the side that goes into, of course, the side that touches the sea. And there's an old souk there. But this one is purely ostentatious. And of course, the temple, the Sheikhs of Dubai have always been a bit more cooperative, a bit more secular, a bit more open-minded, a bit more progressive, if I may. But it's great on the other side. There's the museum, which has rather authentic sounds from old Dubai. And whilst you don't want to go in because it seems a bit artificial, but once you go inside, it's kind of magical. There are a lot of Pakistani restaurants and Indian Mallu restaurants with Pakistani names. which has some amazing food. I mean, I'm not a fan of white bread because white bread has many other things. But when it comes to tandoori roti, it has just water and flour. So it doesn't have preservatives. And it is very, very tasty. But in the evenings that you can swear you can feel the ghosts of the creek. Make no mistakes. There is some magic there and you need to explore.